Mikhail Bakhtin, The Philosopher of Dialogue, All Important Works. Hello and welcome to the discourse. Mikhail Mikhailovich Bakhtin, 1895 to 1975, stands as one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century. A Russian philosopher and literary scholar, he crafted a powerful theory of language, literature, and human interaction under the shadow of Stalinist Russia, where his work was often suppressed. At the heart of Bakhtin's world is the simple yet profound idea of dialogism. He believed that nothing truly exists in isolation. Our words, our thoughts, and our very selves are shaped through contact and exchange with others. Life is an endless, unpredictable conversation, and Bakhtin spent his career exploring the rules of that conversation, championing the power of many voices against the tyranny of a single authoritative one. The polyphonic novel, Many Voices in Dostoevsky. In his groundbreaking work, Problems of Dostoevsky's Poetics, Bakhtin made a stunning claim. The novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky had invented a completely new type of art form, the polyphonic novel. The word polyphony comes from music and means many voices, referring to a piece where multiple independent melody lines play together equally. Bakhtin argued that Dostoevsky structured his novels in the same way. In a traditional monologic novel, the author's voice is the ultimate authority. The characters ultimately serve to express the author's own ideas and moral judgments. But in Dostoevsky's polyphonic novels like Crime and Punishment or The Brothers Karamazov, the characters are not puppets. They are what Bakhtin called free people, capable of standing alongside their creator, capable of not agreeing with him, and even of rebelling against him. For example, in The Brothers Karamazov, the passionate arguments between Ivan, who rejects God's word because of suffering, and Alyosha, the faithful novice, are not simply a debate that Dostoevsky is referring. Instead, Ivan's voice is given its full, powerful, and logical weight. He is a genuine independent consciousness, and his ideas clash with Alyosha's on a level playing field. The author's job is not to provide a final answer, but to stage this dramatic collision of worldviews. This leads directly to Bakhtin's concept of unfinalizability. This is the belief that a human being can never be fully summarized, defined, or finalized. There is always more to be said. A person always has the potential to change, surprise, or reveal something new. In Dostoevsky's world, characters are constantly in a state of becoming. We can never say with certainty that we have completely figured out Raskolnikov or Dmitry Karamazov. This idea is an ethical stance against systems, whether political, religious, or scientific, that seek to pin people down with a single unchangeable label. For Bakhtin, to treat someone as unfinalizable is to respect their fundamental freedom and humanity. The word of Carnival, laughter, freedom, and the grotesque. In Rabelais and his word, Bakhtin turned his attention to the Renaissance writer Francois Rabelais, whose wild and scatological stories about giants, Gargantua and Pantagruel, had often been dismissed as crude. Bakhtin argued the opposite. This humor was deeply philosophical. He saw in Rabelais the spirit of Carnival. Carnival, as Bakhtin defines it, was not just a festival. It was a temporary second world and a second life for the people. During Carnival times, in the Middle Ages, the normal rules of society were suspended, hierarchies were overturned, fools were crowned kings, the sacred was mocked, and the powerful were ridiculed in the public square. This was not merely negativity, it was a liberating and life affirming laughter that created a sense of freedom and equality. This carnival spirit is expressed through what Bakhtin called the grotesque. The grotesque body is the opposite of the classical, beautiful, and finished body. It is a body that is exaggerated, bulging, and most importantly, open to the world. It emphasizes the parts where the body interacts with its environment: the mouth eating and drinking, the belly swelling, and the organs of elimination. In Rabelais' work, feasts, drinking bouts, and bodily functions are described with immense joy and skill. When a giant character urinates on a crowd or a massive feast is described in messy detail, it is an act of grotesque realism. It brings everything that is high, spiritual, and abstract, like power and authority, down to the level of the earthly material body. This act of degrading is not meant to destroy but to renew, just as death on the earthly level makes way for new birth. It is a celebration of the endless cycle of life and a weapon of the people against the cold, impersonal, and official seriousness of the state and the church. The dialogic imagination, language, and the novel. The collection of essays titled The Dialogic Imagination contains some of Bakhtin's most influential ideas on how language actually works. Here, he introduces two key concepts, heteroglossia and the chronotope. Heteroglossia is the fundamental condition of language. It means that any single language, like English or Russian, is not a unified system. It is a swirling ocean of different languages or social speech types. Every profession has its jargon, every generation its slang, every social class its dialect, and every political group its buzzwords. A teenager's language, a lawyer's language, and a farmer's language are all different languages within the same national tongue. The novel for Bakhtin is the great artistic machine that orchestrates this heteroglossia. A skilled novelist does not just use English, they weave together the specific languages of their characters, letting these social voices interact, argue, and overlap. For example, in a novel, the polished, formal speech of a wealthy industrialist would be placed right beside the rough, practical dialect of a factory worker, allowing the reader to hear the clash of their social words. The chronotope is another foundational idea from this work. Meaning time space, it describes how every narrative genre fuses time and space in a specific way. The chronotope is the ground upon which plot events become possible and meaningful. For instance, in the Greek adventure novel, the chronotope is the road. Time is abstract, years can pass in a sentence, and coincidences are frequent. Space is alien and exotic, full of pirates and kidnappers. This adventure time has no real effect on the characters, who end the story unchanged. Contrast this with the chronotope of the provincial town in a realist novel. Here, time is thick, repetitive, and tied to daily routines and seasons. Space is cramped and familiar the parlor, the shop, the church. This specific time space is what allows for the development of gossip, social pressure, and the slow, grinding drama of ordinary life. The chronotope is the lens through which we experience the story's world. Speech genres, the building blocks of dialogue. In his later essays, collected in Speech Genres and Other Late Essays, Bakhtin moved from analyzing great literature to explaining our everyday talk. He wanted to understand how we use language in specific, real life situations. His answer was the concept of speech genres. We do not communicate in perfectly original sentences invented from scratch each time we speak. Instead, we use ready made forms, much like a carpenter uses pre made tools and joints. Bakhtin called these forms speech genres. They are the typical ways we organize our speech, and they range from the very simple to the highly complex. A quick greeting like "How are you?", a command shouted on the sports field, a personal letter, a military report, and a scientific paper are all different speech genres. Each has its own rules, its own style, and its own expected structure. When we want to express something, we select a speech genre that fits the situation and populate it with our own personal intention and accent. For example, the speech genre of a wedding toast has a general form. It is usually short, positive, includes a story about the couple, and ends with a wish for their future. Every best man uses this same basic genre, but he fills it with his own unique content and style. This idea beautifully bridges the gap between the social rules of language and our individual freedom. It shows that our most personal expression is always a response to the ways others have spoken before us and is shaped for the specific person we are addressing. This quality of being directed toward a listener is what Bakhtin called addressivity. Our words are always part of a chain of communication, a link between a past utterance we are responding to and a future response we hope to inspire, forever celebrating the dialogic nature of human life. So, this is it for today. We will continue to discuss the history of English literature. Please stay connected with the discourse. Thanks and regards.